This question on standard form has been taken from paper 1, which means that the numbers should be relatively straightforward to work out. Now, as you can see, the question itself involves two parts. One is the multiplication of numbers in standard form, and the other involves the division. But also with the division, one of the numbers must be written as a number in standard form. So they're testing a few different aspects of the maths curriculum here. As I've said, the numbers should work out reasonably easy. If instead of 2 you had something like 1.47 times 7.8, then that automatically becomes a paper 2 question where you would use your calculator, and we will look at that later. But even that the fact that these numbers should work out relatively straightforward, we need to think, how can we make it even easier for ourselves? Now, because the number in standard form is in two parts, in this case, in part A, the number 2 is an integer and then times 10 to the power, and then you've got 7.8 times 10 to the power. So if you think of it as a number multiplied by 10 to the power, then we need to work on those. Now, if we look at the numbers initially, and then we can deal with the 10 to the power. So we're only doing one small part at a time. So with this question, what we need to do is to think about how I can rewrite the information that we are provided with. Once we've worked it through, then we need to check, have we got the correct format? If it isn't the correct format, then we're going to lose marks. So we need to make sure it's in the right format. Now, the format is dealing with the number. Now, if you notice, we've got here the number 2 and the number 7.8. Both of those are in the range somewhere between 1 and 10. Can't be equal to 10, it's got to be less than 10. If when I work this out, I get a number that's bigger than 10, I then need to make alterations. Now, in terms of this one, this can be rewritten as 2 lots of 7.8. So dealing with the numbers, and then times 10 to the minus 4 times 10 to the power of 9. So the first part, 2 lots of 7.8, is 15.6. And then the next part requires you to know and apply the rules of indices, which in this case will give me 10 to the power of 5. Now, as it says in the problem, we need to check the answer that we've obtained is in the correct format. We look at this, we've got 15.6. If we look at the range in the bottom right hand part of the typing, that is, this number 15.6 is outside the range. So that number, if I leave my answer in that format, 15.6 times 10 to the power of 5, for this part of the question, I will most likely score 0, because I haven't got the number part right and I haven't got the power part right. If I write 15.6 as 1.56 times 10, and then times by the 10 to the power of 5, that would give me 1.56 times 10 to the power of 6. So that is part A now complete. I would most likely get 1 mark for the 1.56 and 1 mark for the 10 to the power of 6. Now in part B, as it says, for the method, it's the same as the multiplication. So the problem with this particular question and the way it's written is the denominator. It's not in standard form. So we need to rewrite that initially in standard form. So we would have here 3.9 times 10 to the power of 8 divided by 3 times 10 cubed. So that's the first bit. Make sure both numbers are in standard form. Then do as we did with the multiplication. We'll work out the numbers. 3.9 divided by 3, and then multiply by 10 to the power of 8 divided by 10 to the power of 3. And again, bracket them off just so that you know I've got to work them out separately, and it just makes it a bit easier. So 3 divides into 3.9 quite nicely. It's 1.3 times 10 to the power of 5. So again, 1 mark for the number, 1.3, and 1 mark for the correct power. Now, with the bonus material, what I want to look at is solving a real-world problem, and then also look at how we apply it to our calculators. So take, for example, the speed of light, 3 times 10 to the power of 8 meters per second. Now, if I want to work out how far light will travel in 1 hour, we use that formula, speed equals distance over time. And that can be rearranged so the distance equals speed times time. Now the distance then obviously is 3 times 10 to the power of 8 meters per second times 1 hour. Now, as I've said there, these units are different. So because they're different, that's why I write them into the question and my workings out. That is going to cause a difficulty. I need to make them the same units. They both need to be in terms of hours, or they both need to be in terms of seconds. Now, the easier option is to change 1 hour into seconds. So it's literally 3 times 10 to the power of 8 meters per second times 60 minutes, and each minute is 60 seconds. So when we work that out, we get 10,800 times 10 to the power of 8 meters, which is, as I've done there, the first number 10,800 is not in standard form, so it's not the right format. I change it to the correct format, and I end up with that 1.08 times 10 to the power of 12 meters. If I divide that by 1,000, it will travel 1.08 times 10 to the power of 9 kilometers. Now, in terms of using the calculator, if we look at the last question, we can do it in the following way. Now, you either type it as 3 and you press the EXP button. Do not put times 10 to the power of 8, because you will end up with an incorrect answer. So it's the EXP button, 8 times 60 times 60, and your calculator will give you that 1.08 x 12, and then you would write meters after it. Now that's if your calculator has the EXP button. Now some of the newer calculators do not have an EXP button. They have a times or a 10 to the power of x button, and you use that one. You do not type times 10 and then put in the power, and that will give you that. Now check on your calculator if you like, with a simple question like this. Check on your calculator so that you know the correct order in which to press the buttons on your calculator and you're pressing the correct format. And there's the question then on standard form.